The bitter wind howled through the cracks of Eleanor Wilson's small homestead, carrying with it the chill of a Wyoming winter that seemed determined to freeze her very soul. It was 1876, and the promise of a better life on the frontier had turned into a cruel joke for the 24-year-old widow. Her husband Thomas had been dead for 3 months, taken by pneumonia before the first snow, leaving her alone on their isolated claim outside Snake River. Eleanor wrapped her threadbare shawl tighter around her shoulders as she stared at the empty fireplace. The last of her firewood had been consumed that morning, and darkness was descending rapidly, bringing with it temperatures that could kill. Her slender fingers were already turning blue, and her breath formed clouds in the frigid air of the cabin. The sound of approaching hoofbeats startled her from her grim thoughts. Visitors were rare in these parts, especially with winter settling in. Fear and hope warred within her as she grabbed the shotgun Thomas had taught her to use and moved to the window, peering through frost-rimmed glass. A lone rider approached, his broad-shouldered silhouette dark against the snow-covered landscape. He rode tall in the saddle, leading a packhorse laden with supplies. As he drew closer, she could make out a weathered face beneath a wide-brimmed hat, his features sharp but not unkind. Eleanor kept the shotgun ready as the stranger dismounted and approached her door. 3 firm knocks echoed through the cabin. "Who's there?" she called, her voice steady despite her fear. "Name's Dawson Pierce, madam. I'm passing through to Snake River. Saw your chimney without smoke. Thought you might need assistance in this weather." Eleanor hesitated before cracking open the door, shotgun visible. The man before her raised his gloved hands slowly, showing he meant no harm. His face was wind-burned and stubbled, but his blue eyes held no malice. "Your house is empty and cold," the cowboy said, his breath forming clouds in the frigid air. "I'll bring wood and stay till morning if you'll allow it. No one should be without fire tonight." Eleanor studied him, weighing her limited options against the very real possibility of freezing to death. "How do I know you're not here to rob or harm me?" Dawson's expression softened. "Madam, I've got a sister back in Missouri. If she were alone like you, I'd hope some traveler would show her the same kindness." After a moment's deliberation, Eleanor nodded and stepped back, allowing him entry. "I'm Eleanor Wilson. My husband passed 3 months ago." "My condolences, Mrs. Wilson," Dawson said, removing his hat as he entered. His eyes swept the cold, dark cabin, taking in the situation quickly. "If you'll keep that shotgun handy for your peace of mind, I'll start bringing in wood from my packhorse. Got plenty to spare." True to his word, Dawson brought in armfuls of split logs, stacking them neatly by the fireplace. With practiced efficiency, he soon had a fire crackling, bringing the first real warmth to the cabin in days. "When's the last time you ate, Mrs. Wilson?" he asked, noting her gaunt features as the firelight illuminated her face. "Yesterday morning," she admitted. "The supplies I had are nearly gone, and I haven't been able to get to town." Dawson nodded, his face grave. "I've got jerky, beans, coffee, and some cornmeal, not fancy, but it'll fill your belly." While Eleanor sat near the growing fire, absorbing its blessed heat, Dawson retrieved provisions from his saddlebags and set about preparing a simple meal on her cookstove. The domestic scene struck Eleanor as surreal, this stranger cooking in her kitchen as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "Where are you headed?" she asked, watching him work. "Got a job offer at the Circle T Ranch near Snake River," he explained, stirring the beans. "Foreman position. Previous one got himself shot in a card game." "The Circle T is a good outfit," Eleanor said. "My husband did business with them occasionally." As they ate the hot meal, Eleanor found herself studying her unexpected guest. Dawson Pierce wasn't handsome in the conventional way, but there was something compelling about his weathered features and the quiet confidence with which he moved. "What was your plan, Mrs. Wilson?" Dawson asked finally. "Winter's just starting." "You can't stay out here alone without supplies or firewood." Eleanor stiffened. "I'm not abandoning my claim. This land is all I have left." "Didn't suggest you should," he replied calmly, but you need a strategy to survive until spring. I had hoped to sell some of Thomas's tools in town, she admitted. But the snow came earlier than expected. Dawson nodded thoughtfully. First light tomorrow, I can help you load what you want to sell, take you to Snake River myself. Eleanor's pride battled with practicality. Why would you do that? You don't know me. Out here, folks help each other, he said simply. It's the code of the West. Besides, I'm headed that way regardless. That night, Eleanor slept better than she had in months, with the fire crackling steadily and the reassuring presence of another human being in the cabin. Dawson had insisted on bedding down on the floor near the door, giving her privacy and maintaining propriety. Morning brought clear skies and brilliant sunshine that made the snow-covered landscape sparkle like diamonds. True to his word, Dawson helped Eleanor select items to sell, carefully loading them onto his packhorse. The ride to Snake River took most of the day, the horses plodding steadily through snow-covered trails. Conversation flowed surprisingly easily between them as Eleanor learned that Dawson had spent years driving cattle, fighting in the war, and generally wandering wherever work took him. Never found a reason to settle, he explained as they caught sight of the small frontier town in the distance. Always another horizon calling my name. Snake River was a collection of rough wooden buildings strung along a main street, with the namesake river frozen along its edges. The general store, saloon, and livery stable formed the heart of the settlement, with scattered homes and businesses branching outward. Mr. Holcomb at the general store gave fair prices for Thomas's tools, providing Eleanor with enough money for essential supplies. While she conducted her business, Dawson excused himself to visit the Circle T representative at the saloon. They're expecting me tomorrow, he explained. Want to confirm the position is still available? Eleanor nodded, feeling an unexpected pang at the thought of Dawson continuing on his way. In just one day, his steady presence had become something she relied upon. When he returned an hour later, his expression was troubled. Everything all right with the job? She asked as they loaded her supplies. Position's still there, he confirmed, but they mentioned trouble brewing. Cattle rustlers hit 3 ranches last month. Circle T is beefing up security. The sun was already low in the sky by the time they finished their business in town. We won't make it back to your homestead before dark, Dawson observed, eyeing the horizon. Town has a small boarding house. I can get you a room there. Eleanor hesitated, calculating costs. I should save my money. We can head back and make camp if needed. Dawson frowned. Temperatures drop fast at night. Too dangerous. In the end, they compromised. Mrs. Peterson at the boarding house offered Eleanor a reduced rate when she learned she was Thomas Wilson's widow. Your husband helped my boy when his wagon overturned last spring, the older woman explained. Never forgot that kindness. That evening, after a hot meal in the boarding house dining room, Eleanor and Dawson sat in the small parlor, speaking in low tones while other guests played cards nearby. I've been thinking about your situation, Dawson said carefully. Winter's going to be hard. Even with supplies, you're isolated out there, Eleanor sighed. I know, but I can't abandon the claim. Thomas and I worked too hard for it. What if you had help? Dawson suggested. Circle T job comes with decent pay. I could assist with firewood, hunting, repairs when needed. Eleanor's eyes widened. Why would you do that? You hardly know me. Something flickered in Dawson's blue eyes. Sometimes you meet a person and just know they're worth helping. He cleared his throat. Besides, Mrs. Peterson mentioned the boarding house is full all winter with cowboys from outlying ranches. I'd need lodging anyway. I couldn't pay you much, Eleanor said hesitantly. Room in your barn and occasional meals would suffice, he replied. And knowing you're safe. Eleanor found herself agreeing to an arrangement that would have scandalized proper society back east. But out here, survival trumped convention, and something told her Dawson Pierce was a man of his word. The next morning, they returned to Eleanor's homestead. The journey seemed shorter with the promise of a solution to her most pressing problems. Upon arrival, Dawson immediately set to work making the small barn habitable, insulating a corner for his bedroll and belongings while Eleanor prepared a hot meal from their supplies. As they ate, Dawson outlined his plan. "I'll ride to Circle T tomorrow, confirm the position. I'll be working 3 days on, 2 off to start. During my days here, we'll stockpile firewood, hunt game, and repair what needs fixing before the worst weather hits." Eleanor nodded, relief washing over her. "I can manage the garden plot come spring, and I'm a fair hand with preserving food. Between the two of us, we'll get through winter," Dawson said with quiet confidence. Over the next few weeks, a rhythm developed. Dawson would ride out to Circle T for his shifts, then return to chop endless cords of firewood, hunt deer and rabbit, and make crucial repairs to the cabin and outbuildings. Eleanor kept the home fires burning, cooked hearty meals, mended clothing, and began planning an expanded garden for spring. In the evenings, they would sit by the fire, talking long into the night. Eleanor shared stories of her life in Pennsylvania, her journey west with Thomas, and their dreams for the homestead. Dawson spoke of cattle drives through Texas, mining camps in Colorado, and the war that had taken his youth. "Never thought I'd stay in one place," he admitted one night. "Always restless, always moving." "And now," Eleanor asked softly, his eyes met hers across the firelight, "now I'm starting to see the appeal of putting down roots." December brought the first major blizzard, howling winds driving snow into drifts taller than a man. Dawson had thankfully returned from Circle T the previous evening, bringing with him Christmas treats from town sugar, cinnamon, and dried apples, that Eleanor transformed into a pie that filled the cabin with mouth-watering aromas. As they sat together watching the storm through frosted windows, a comfortable silence between them, Eleanor realized something had changed. The cabin no longer felt empty. It felt like home again. Christmas approached with the blizzard showing no signs of abating. Trapped inside for days, they found ways to pass the time. Dawson carved wooden figures from scraps horses, cattle, even a delicate flower that he presented to Eleanor with uncharacteristic shyness. She taught him to play checkers using buttons as pieces, laughing at his competitive scowl when she won repeatedly. On Christmas Eve, with the wind finally calming, Dawson disappeared into the barn for hours, refusing to let Eleanor see what he was doing. That evening, he presented her with a small table he had crafted from scrap lumber. "Your old one wobbles," he explained, running his hand over the smooth surface. "Thought you deserved better." Tears filled Eleanor's eyes at the thoughtful gift. "I have something for you too," she said, retrieving a package wrapped in cloth. Inside was a scarf she had knitted from unraveled yarn, working on it secretly during his absences. As Dawson wrapped it around his neck, their fingers brushed, and Eleanor felt a jolt of awareness course through her. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the air between them seemed charged with unspoken possibilities. Dawson cleared his throat and stepped back. "Thank you, Eleanor. It's the finest gift I've received." It was the first time he had used her given name, and the sound of it in his deep voice made her heart beat faster. January brought brutal cold and new challenges. A wolf pack, driven by hunger, began preying on livestock in the area. Circle T lost several calves, and smaller homesteads reported missing chickens and goats. "They'll get bolder as winter deepens," Dawson warned as he checked his rifle one evening. "We need to be vigilant." 2 nights later, Eleanor woke to the sound of Pepper, her remaining milk cow, lowing in distress. Grabbing her shotgun, she rushed to the window to see dark shapes moving around the small corral. "Dawson," she called out, knowing he slept in the barn. Before she could pull on her boots, she heard a rifle shot, then another. Flinging open the door, she saw Dawson in the moonlight, rifle raised, as 2 wolves fled into the darkness. A third lay motionless in the snow. "Pepper's fine," he called to her, reloading his weapon. "Just scared." Relief flooded through Eleanor as she hurried to check on the cow, her bare feet freezing in the snow. Dawson noticed immediately, sweeping her up despite her protests. "You'll lose your toes to frostbite," he scolded, carrying her back to the cabin. As he set her down by the fire and knelt to rub feeling back into her frozen feet, Eleanor was acutely aware of his touch, gentle yet strong. When she looked down, Dawson was watching her, something unguarded in his expression. "I thought I'd lost you once before I even had you," he said quietly, the words slipping out as if against his will. Eleanor's breath caught. "What do you mean?" Dawson looked away, his hands stilling on her feet. "I passed by your homestead in September, Eleanor. Saw you and your husband working the field together. You looked so happy, so right on this land. I rode on, but the image stayed with me." "You saw us," she whispered, stunned by the revelation. He nodded. "When I came through again in December and saw your chimney without smoke, I feared the worst, finding you alone, freezing." He trailed off, emotion tightening his voice. "You didn't just happen by," Eleanor realized. "You came looking for me." "Not in any improper way," he hastened to add. "Just wanted to ensure you were safe, never expected." He gestured vaguely between them. "What didn't you expect?" she asked, heart pounding. Dawson finally met her eyes. "To care this much." The confession hung in the air between them, changing everything and nothing at once. Eleanor reached out, touching his stubbled cheek. "I care too," she whispered. "More than I thought possible after Thomas." Dawson covered her hand with his. "I'd never ask you to forget him." "I know," she said. "That's part of why I care for you." He leaned forward slowly, giving her time to pull away, and when she didn't, he pressed his lips to hers in a gentle kiss that held more promise than passion. When they separated, both were breathing unsteadily. "We should wait," Dawson said, though his eyes said otherwise. "Do this properly." Eleanor nodded, though part of her wanted to throw propriety to the wind. "Spring," she suggested, "if we both still feel the same when winter ends." February brought a brief thaw, allowing Dawson to make it to town for supplies and mail. He returned with a letter for Eleanor from her sister in Pennsylvania, full of family news and gentle inquiries about her welfare. "She's worried about me," Eleanor sighed, folding the letter. "Wants me to return east." "Will you?" Dawson asked, his tone carefully neutral. Eleanor shook her head. "This is my home now. Our home, if you still want it to be." The smile that broke across Dawson's face was answer enough. As winter slowly released its grip on the land, their relationship deepened. Dawson spoke of improvements for the homestead, expanding the garden, adding rooms to the cabin, perhaps increasing their livestock. Eleanor shared her dreams of fruit trees, honeybees, maybe even children someday. They planned together, their future taking shape in conversations by firelight. In early March, trouble arrived in the form of 3 riders from the Double Bar Ranch. Eleanor was alone, Dawson having left for his shift at Circle T the previous day. "We're here about the water rights," the lead rider announced without preamble. "Your husband signed an agreement with Mr. Blackstone." Eleanor frowned. "My husband never mentioned such an agreement, and I've found nothing in his papers." The man's expression hardened. "Mr. Blackstone says different. Says this whole section, including your creek, belongs to Double Bar now." "This is my legal homestead," Eleanor stated firmly. "If Mr. Blackstone has a claim, he can present it to the land office in Cheyenne." The men exchanged glances. "We'll be back with Blackstone." "Might be best if you start packing now, widow." After they departed, Eleanor spent a restless night, shotgun close at hand. The moment Dawson returned the following afternoon, she told him about the visitors. His face darkened with anger. "Blackstone's been trying to push out small homesteaders for years. Claims water rights, threatens folks, sometimes worse." "What can we do?" Eleanor asked. "First, we check your husband's papers thoroughly, then we visit the land office ourselves," Dawson said. "And I'll talk to Mr. Thornton at Circle T. Blackstone's tried pushing on his boundaries too." They spent the evening combing through Thomas's documents, finding nothing resembling the agreement the men had mentioned. "They're bluffing," Dawson concluded, "but Blackstone's dangerous. He doesn't bluff long before taking action." The next morning, they rode to Snake River together, seeking the sheriff's advice. Sheriff Miller was sympathetic but limited in what he could do. Land disputes are civil matters, he explained. Unless there's a direct threat or violence, my hands are tied. There was an implied threat, Dawson pressed. Implied doesn't hold up in court, Miller sighed. Best I can do is ride out occasionally, keep an eye on things. And I'd recommend a trip to the land office in Cheyenne to ensure your claim is properly recorded. As they left the sheriff's office, Dawson spotted one of Blackstone's men watching them from across the street. We're being observed, he murmured to Eleanor. Keep walking naturally. They continued to the general store, both acutely aware of being followed. Inside, Mr. Holcomb confirmed what they suspected. Blackstone's been buying up water rights all through the county, the shopkeeper said quietly. Some folks sold willingly, others found themselves facing mysterious troubles until they gave in. What kind of troubles? Eleanor asked. Holcomb's expression was grim. Barns burning, livestock disappearing, accidents. On the ride home, they discussed their options. We should go to Cheyenne, Dawson suggested. Get official copies of your deed and water rights. Might take a few days. I don't want to leave the homestead undefended, Eleanor worried. I'll ask some of the Circle T boys to keep an eye on it, Dawson assured her. Tom Jenkins owes me a favor, and he can't stand Blackstone. Their journey to Cheyenne took 4 days, during which Eleanor marveled at the growing settlement. The territorial capital boasted brick buildings, a proper hotel, and streets busy with commerce. At the land office, they discovered Eleanor's claim was indeed properly filed, with clear rights to the creek that ran through her property. This should be sufficient legal protection, the clerk assured them, providing official copies of all documents. On their return journey, camping beneath stars that seemed brighter than ever, Eleanor found herself studying Dawson's profile in the firelight. "What are you thinking?" he asked, catching her gaze. "That I'm grateful you stopped that day," she answered honestly. "Not just because you saved me from freezing, but because you brought something back to my life I thought was gone forever." Dawson moved to sit beside her, taking her hand. "I've wandered most of my life, Eleanor, never thought I'd find a reason to stop. But seeing you fight for your land, your home, it made me want those things too, with you." He reached into his pocket, withdrawing something small. "Got this in Cheyenne. It's not fancy, but it's honest, like what I feel for you." In his palm lay a simple gold band. "Eleanor Wilson, would you do me the honor of becoming my wife? Let me help you protect what you've built and build something new together." Tears sprang to Eleanor's eyes as she nodded, words momentarily beyond her. When Dawson slipped the ring onto her finger, it felt like the most natural thing in the world, as if her hand had been waiting for this moment. Their kiss beneath the Wyoming stars sealed promises that went beyond words of partnership, protection, and a love that had grown steadily like the trees they would plant together. They arrived home to find everything undisturbed, thanks to Tom Jenkins and the other Circle T hands who had kept watch. For several days, it seemed Blackstone had abandoned his plans, but Eleanor and Dawson remained vigilant. The confrontation came on a clear April morning as they worked together, preparing the garden for planting. The sound of approaching horses alerted them before 5 riders appeared, Mr. Blackstone himself in the lead. "Mrs. Wilson," he called, his tone falsely pleasant. "I see you've acquired help, and apparently a fiancé." His gaze flickered to Eleanor's ring. "Mr. Blackstone," she acknowledged coolly. "If you're here about water rights, I have official documentation from the Territorial Land Office confirming my claim." Blackstone's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Papers can be contested, accidents happen, especially to small operations like yours." Dawson stepped forward. "Is that a threat, Blackstone?" "Merely an observation," the rancher replied. "This land would be better served as part of Double Bar's grazing operation. I'm prepared to offer fair compensation for the transfer." "Not interested," Eleanor stated firmly. "This is our home." Blackstone's expression hardened. "You should reconsider. Wyoming territory is still wild. Law enforcement is scattered. Would be a shame if trouble found you out here, all isolated." "She won't be isolated," came a voice from behind them. Sheriff Miller rode up, accompanied by Mr. Thornton from Circle T and several cowboys. "And neither will the other homesteaders you've been threatening." Blackstone's composure slipped momentarily. "I don't know what you mean." "The Winslow family has decided to press charges regarding their barn fire," Miller continued. "Interesting thing, one of your hands got drunk in my jail last night. Talked quite a bit about fire setting and intimidation." The sheriff dismounted, handing Blackstone a paper. "This is a summons to appear before the territorial judge next month. In the meantime, you and your men are to stay clear of the Wilson property and all others you've threatened." Blackstone's face flushed with anger. "This isn't over," he growled, crumpling the paper. "Actually, it is," Mr. Thornton spoke up. "Circle T, Flying W, and Broken Arrow Ranches have formed an association. We don't appreciate your methods, Blackstone. They reflect poorly on all cattle operations. The association has voted to offer fair market value for Double Bar. You sell to us, or we ensure every market from here to Chicago knows about your business practices." The standoff lasted several tense moments before Blackstone wheeled his horse around. "You'll regret this," he spat before galloping away, his men following. "He'll be back," Eleanor said quietly when the dust settled. Sheriff Miller nodded. "Probably, but not with the same leverage. The territorial governor is taking a special interest in land fraud cases now, and with the Ranchers Association watching, Blackstone's options are limited." After the sheriff and others departed, promising to check in regularly, Eleanor and Dawson stood in their garden, surveying the land that was now truly secure. "We did it," Eleanor said, leaning against Dawson's solid presence. "You did it," he corrected, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "I just helped a bit." "More than a bit," she argued. "You brought warmth back to a cold house, Dawson, and not just from firewood." On the first day of May 1877, Eleanor Wilson became Eleanor Pierce in a small ceremony at the Snake River Church. The entire community turned out, along with cowboys from Circle T and neighboring ranches. Even Eleanor's sister made the journey from Pennsylvania, arriving just in time to witness the vows. "I never thought I'd find happiness again," Eleanor told her sister as they prepared for the ceremony. "After Thomas died, everything seemed empty and cold." "And now?" her sister asked, arranging Eleanor's hair. Eleanor smiled, glancing out the window where Dawson stood talking with Tom Jenkins, tall and straight in his best clothes. "Now I have a partner to face whatever comes. Someone who saw value in me when I couldn't see it myself." Their wedding night was spent in their improved cabin, where a new bedroom addition gave them privacy and comfort Dawson had insisted on building. As they lay together in the darkness, the physical expression of their love as natural as breathing, Eleanor marveled at how fate had brought them together. "What are you thinking?" Dawson asked, tracing patterns on her bare shoulder. "That your timing was perfect," she replied. "One more day without firewood and you would have found a frozen widow." He pulled her closer. "Don't even think such things. We found each other exactly when we were supposed to." Spring flowed into summer and the Wilson Pierce homestead flourished. With Dawson's carpentry skills and Eleanor's gardening expertise, they expanded operations, adding chickens, pigs, and 2 more milk cows. The garden yielded bountifully, providing vegetables for canning and preserving. Dawson continued working at Circle T, though reduced to just 2 days a week as their homestead demanded more attention. Mr. Thornton, understanding the importance of settled families in the territory, was accommodating. By autumn, Eleanor had news that brought tears of joy to Dawson's eyes. "A baby," he whispered, hand gentle on her still flat stomach. "Are you certain?" she nodded, covering his hand with hers. "Dr. Phillips confirmed it. Come spring, we'll be 3 instead of 2. Dawson lifted her in a careful embrace, his usual restraint forgotten in his excitement. "I never thought I'd be a father," he admitted. "Always figured my wandering ways weren't suited to family life." "And now," Eleanor asked, Echoing a question she'd posed months before, his answer was the same but deeper in meaning. Now I see the appeal of roots. Strong, deep roots that weather any storm. That winter, unlike the previous one, their house was neither empty nor cold. Filled with love, warmth, and anticipation of new life, the homestead that had once been on the brink of abandonment became a symbol of resilience and hope. On a snowy evening much like the one when they first met, Eleanor and Dawson sat before their fireplace, his hand resting on her growing belly. "Do you ever regret stopping that day?" she asked. "Taking on responsibility for a widow and her struggling homestead." Dawson's answer came without hesitation. "Best decision I ever made." He placed a gentle kiss on her forehead. "I rode past a cold, empty house and found my future waiting inside." As the baby kicked beneath his palm, Dawson smiled. "I promised to bring wood and stay till morning." "Guess I'm a bit behind schedule on the leaving part." Eleanor laughed, leaning into his embrace. "Some promises are meant to be broken." "And others," he replied, holding her close, "are meant to last a lifetime." Outside, snow continued to fall on the land they both loved. But within the walls of their home, the warmth of their love defied the Wyoming winter, promising spring and new beginnings yet to come.